Hi everyone, thank you for joining the webinar today. We're just going to give it a couple of minutes to give people a chance to join the webinar and then we'll get started. Hi everyone, thank you for joining the webinar today. We'll just give it 1 or 2 minutes to give people a chance to join and then we'll get underway. Hi everyone, just giving it 1 more minute and then I will get the webinar started. Thank you everyone for joining the webinar today. So on the webinar today is myself. My name is Sahil. I am the Partnerships Manager at the Big Give. And Alex, our director, has also joined the webinar today. So he will be joining at the end for the Q&A session. I just want to point out right at the start is that we are aware that this whole webinar is about women and girls funding opportunities with the Christmas Challenge, and we are 2 men presenting the webinar today. Normally we have our colleague Beth who leads on this webinar, but she's on leave this week, so it's myself and Alex leading the webinar today. So just a bit of housekeeping before I get started. If you have any questions during the webinar, please put them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom panel. That's where we'll be looking at any questions coming in and we'll answer them at the end of in the Q&A portion of the webinar. There is the chat function on the right-hand side of your Zoom panel. Feel free to introduce yourselves to other attendees there, do a bit of networking. Just make sure your to function is set to everyone so everyone can see what you're writing. And this webinar will be recorded as well, so we'll put it on our YouTube channel this week as well. And finally, there is a transcription service as well, so anyone hard of hearing, that should be enabled, and it's at the bottom of your Zoom panel as well if you want to turn that on. So I'll just get started now. So this session will just cover a recap, just have a really brief overview of the benefits of match funding. And then I'll just go on to the Women and Girls Match Fund post-campaign reflections. So this is the post-campaign reflections of the Women and Girls Match Fund campaign we ran in February. And then finally onto the Christmas Challenge eligibility criteria and application process. Just to highlight as well that we did also have a broader Christmas Challenge introductory webinar last week, which is available. The recording is available on our YouTube channel if you also want to watch that. So I'll start with the quick recap of the benefits of match funding on the next slide. So the benefits of match funding, we get this data based on the feedback we receive from charities. So it's really the effect it has had on charities by taking part in our match funding campaigns. And when they report back to us, they highlight that the benefits are broken down into 3 key areas of resilience, skills, and profile. So as it says there, the resilience has helped develop new income streams for charities. It helps strengthen their engagement with existing supporters, but also new supporters. and it's helped develop their digital skills. So especially helpful for charities new to digital fundraising. They really found that taking part in our campaigns has helped sort of develop those digital fundraising skills that they haven't had before. And we do this by providing a range of free training and resources for all charities taking part in our campaign. And this is based on us inviting in industry experts to help charities build these skills up. And finally, building that profile of the charity, coming it together in one sort of umbrella campaign and cutting through some of the fundraising noise, especially around Christmas at Christmas time, has helped charities become more known to the wider public as well. So those are the benefits of digital match funding that we have seen and the impacts it's had on charities. A quick reflection on the Women and Girls Match Fund campaign we ran in February now. So this is the first time ever that we ran this Women and Girls Match Fund. We were really pleased that we were able to launch this campaign. It launched on International Women's Day 2022. It ran for 2 weeks, and the match funding was provided by DCMS's tampon tax. We had over 100 charities taking part, and the vast majority had that income of less than £1 million. £2 million overall raised, so really great success, really great effort by all the charities taking part. And we had over 8,000 donations across the whole campaign. And we're really hoping that this is something that can become a regular fixture in our campaign calendar. So hopefully some of you new to us could also take part next year alongside charities that have already taken part before. We asked charities to complete a post-campaign survey just to gather their feedback on how the campaign has affected them. And this is what charities reported back to us. As you can see there, that the majority of charities felt that their relationships with existing donors improved by taking part in the campaign. 90% received a donation from at least one new supporter, so great engagement with new donors. Sorry, that was 96%. And 94% of charities reported this campaign increased their organization confidence in digital fundraising. We worked with IG advisors to deliver a training program for all charities taking part. So onto the Christmas Challenge eligibility and application process. So primarily charities that are eligible for the Women and Girls Match Fund portion of the Christmas Challenge, they must be led by, for, and women and girls. So we will look at the makeup of your trustees and senior leadership team to assess this, as well as obviously your core mission. Charities must be working to improve the lives of vulnerable and disadvantaged or underrepresented women and girls in England and Scotland. The reason for this is that the funding that has been provided by DCMS for us has been ring-fenced for England and Scotland. DCMS has awarded funding to charities in Wales. Just the funding for us and how we're supporting charities has been ring-fenced for English and Scottish charities. If you are a charity that you don't feel that meets all of these eligibility requirements, or you're maybe based in Wales, we would still encourage you to apply for the Christmas Challenge, as we may have other match funders that will be interested in supporting your charity. So if you don't qualify for this particular Women and Girls Match Fund, we may have other champions that match funders that could also support your charity. So don't let this put you off applying. All charities that apply for the Christmas Challenge must have at least 1 year of filed accounts and at least a minimum income of £25,000, just so we can complete our own due diligence process on applications. And our whole mission is to run match funding campaigns. So we're not a grant funder. So charities applying for the Christmas Challenge must be seeking to raise public donations and have those donations doubled. We particularly encourage applications from charities that are led by Black and minoritized groups and LGBTQI or disabled women and girls. So also really encourage those charities, particularly as we know that often underfunded to apply for this, this campaign. I think Alex will be putting the link for the Women and Girls Match Fund page on in the chat, and please visit that page to download the full eligibility requirements. So it goes into further details on what exactly we can find in that document. So please do visit that page. So how does the actual match funding work? Please bear with me if you joined the webinar last week, as I just want to go over this just to make sure any new attendees understand how the process works. So we have the application deadline. So the applications for the Christmas challenge are already open. So the deadline to apply is Friday, 5 p.m, 1st of July. And there are two stages to this application process. The stage one phase is just completing a simple online application form, just detailing what you're raising funds for, how you're going to spend any funds raised. And then charities that complete the stage one process are automatically enrolled into the stage two process, which involves securing pledges for the campaign. The pledges make up part of the match funding pot, and they're your contribution to your match funding pot. For example, if you have set this charity we have in this example has set an overall fundraising target of £20,000 for the whole Christmas challenge campaign, this will be made up of 5,000 pledge contribution from their own pledges. So their own supporters, trusts and foundations, it could be businesses that support your charity by contributing to the match funding as pledges. Once the pledge deadline has expired on Friday, 2nd of September, we'll share the applications and we'll review the applications. And then the champion offers, so the champions are the match funds that we're contributing to your match funding pot. The champion offers are sent out in mid-September to early October. So say this charity, they've applied, they've secured £5,000 in pledges, and we've reviewed the application alongside our assessors, and they've decided to award, your charity should be awarded £5,000 in match funds. So now this charity here has £10,000 in match funds. We then go into the campaign week. This year it's 29th of November to 6th of December. Charities need to secure online donations to unlock the match funds that they've already secured. In the example here that we have, this charity will need to raise £10,000 to unlock all of the match funds that they've been awarded. It's important to remember that the first set of donations you receive during the Christmas challenge week are matched by the pledges. Once the pledges have been used up, then the donations are matched by the champion funds. So in this example, the first £5,000 the charity raises will be matched by those pledges. Once that's used up, the next £5,000 in online donations the charity secures during the campaign week will be matched by the champion funds. So in total, the charity would have raised £20,000 in total. But it's not an all or nothing situation. If you don't hit your online donation target, whatever you do raise will still be matched. In this example, if the charity raises £7,500 in online donations, they will still raise they will still access £5,000 in pledge from their pledges and £2,500 from the champion funds. If you have any further questions about this, please do put them in the chat and we can go over them in the Q&A portion of the webinar. So for the Women and Girls Match Fund, we have a way of supporting charities under £1 million. So charities in England and Scotland with an annual income of less than £1 million, we can also act as a pledger for your campaign, and we can offer you pledge funding up to £12,500, and then this is topped up with funds from DCMS of up to £12,500. So this means that we would provide all of the match funding for your charity. So if we go back to this example, if this charity that has applied has an income of less than £1 million, we would act as a pledger and you would access the champion funding. And so the whole £10,000 of match funds would be provided by the Big Give, and you don't need to secure the pledges at all. So if you are a charity of under £1 million, hopefully this is an extra encouragement for you to apply. But also, if you're a charity with an income of more than £1 million, you can still apply for the Women and Girls Match Fund category of the Christmas Challenge. It just means that you will need to secure the pledges to be eligible for the champion funds. So why would you apply for the Women and Girls Match Fund of the Christmas Challenge? As mentioned, if you're a charity under £1 million, we can provide you with all of the match funds for your campaign. But if you're also a charity with income of over £1 million and you're working to support women and girls across England and Scotland, you can access that funding from a DCMS's Stamp on Tax Fund. As mentioned at the start of the webinar, we arrange and organize training for charities taking part in the campaign. So we're working with G advisors and other industry experts to deliver digital fundraising charities and fundraising training for charities. So we hope all of this will help you develop your digital fundraising skills if you're new to digital fundraising, and these skills can help you in the long term, regardless of whether you take part in any future Big Give campaigns or not. And finally, there's an offer of a digital capacity building grant of up to £375 for all charities that are supported with this Women and Girls Match Fund. And this can be used in any way that you see fit that will help your charity's digital capacity. So it could be spending that money on training or using it to buy new software that will help increase your digital capacity and digital presence. We'll just need you to report back to us on how you spend that money. And if you find that maybe the Christmas Challenge dates don't work with your fundraising plans for this year, we also have the option for women and girls charities to run your own match funding campaign on our website outside of the Christmas Challenge. And we can provide £10,000 of match funds for your campaign. So the applications for this are open until 28th of October. And the information on that is available on the Women and Girls Match Fund page on our website. And I think Alex put a link on our in the chat function. Charities can apply for both. So you can apply to run your own match funding campaign, and you can also apply for the Christmas Challenge Women and Girls Match Fund. So you don't have to do one or the other. If you want to apply for both, you're more than welcome to it as well. As I put on the previous slide, this is how you can find the full details of the Women and Girls Match Fund. All the eligibility criteria and details of how it works are available on that page. But if you have any questions, please, after this webinar, please do email us at hello@biggive.org.uk, and we'd be really happy to have a chat with you and find out how we can help support your charity. With that, we'll invite Alex back onto the screen, and we can answer any questions that you may have.
Hi, Sahil. Yeah, we've had some great questions in, and appreciate we've got sort of 12 minutes left, so we'll try and rattle through these as quickly as possible. But as Sahil said, if you leave still with questions, feel free to get in touch, hello@biggive.org.uk. We'll be happy to answer any questions. So first question we've had from anonymous attendee is, if we're eligible for both the Christmas campaign and the Women and Girls Fund, which should we apply to? I think this person's referring to the Run Your Own campaign. I think you answered that question, Sarah, right at the end. It's up to you ultimately. We're willing to accept applications for both as well. So I think
what's best for you is probably the best answer.
Another question from anonymous. The charity I manage provides positive activities for young people aged 10 to 18, not specifically just for girls. We've got a dedicated girls wellbeing group, and I'm seeking funding for that. Does that mean that we're not eligible? What I would recommend, anonymous, is to read our eligibility criteria. As Sahil mentioned earlier in the earlier in the webinar, we look at various things to determine whether you are a charity that is led by, for, and with women and girls. So we look at your governing document and whether that specifically mentions women and girls. We look at your board composition and sort of your ethos as an organization as sort of presented in any sort of public facing web pages or social media. But that to say, if you don't feel as though you meet that eligibility criteria, so that's always a bit of a mouthful, please still do consider the Christmas Challenge, because it might be that we have other champion match funding available for you. So this webinar is specifically about the funding that we've got from DCMS, but we do have other match funding for the Christmas Challenge campaign. Anything to add to that, Sahil?
I think that's covered everything.
One for you, Sahil, could you just clarify who pledges are?
Yeah, pledges are your own contribution to your match funding pot. So they could be your own supporters, trustees, it could be trusts and foundations, it could be businesses in your network. And essentially they're making a contribution to your own match funding pot, which is then topped up with what we call champion funds. So these are the funds that are provided by the Big Give. So as I mentioned, if you're a charity of under £1 million, we could provide those pledges for you as well as the champion fund. So in essence, we're providing all of the match funding for your charity, and you don't need to worry about securing pledges.
Great, thanks, Sahil. Another question from Wadu Global. Is a charity that's registered in England with activities happening internationally eligible for this, or do the activities need to happen within England and Wales? Do you want to take that one, Sahil? Yeah,
so the funding from DCMS has been ring-fenced for organisations working with women and girls in England and Scotland. So activities would need to be in England and Scotland.
But again, just to reiterate that point, is if you're interested in the Christmas Challenge, we have other funders who are interested in supporting other types of projects. So perhaps check out the webinar on our YouTube channel from last week and our sort of general pages about the Christmas Challenge. Julie's asked, we're over £1 million income due to COVID uplift. Is the £1 million a hard cut-off? Is there potential still to be considered? So Julie, yeah, just to be clear on that, that's for supporting on the pledge funding. So if you do have an income of over £1 million for the Christmas Challenge, we wouldn't be able to support with pledge funding, but you still can take part in the campaign because we can provide that sort of second tier of match funding, as Sahil's explained, the champion funding. Or Julie, you might also look to sort of run your own campaign throughout the year, as Sahil's explained. So yeah, if you've got any further questions on that, feel free to sort of get in touch with us. Kitty has asked, if the charity is already receiving DCMS tampon tax funding for another project, are they not eligible? So Kitty, yet to be clear on that, you are eligible. So what we can't do is provide match funding for a project that is already funded by DCMS tampon tax funding or any DCMS funded project. But if your organization is looking for funding for a separate project that's not DCMS funded, then we can support that. Again, if you've got questions on that, feel free to get in touch. Megan has asked, for charities that don't meet the women and girls match fund criteria, will there still be other champions available for us like previous years? Yes, that is correct, Megan. There will be other champions. So last year we had 25 different champions. The reason that we're doing this webinar today is the way that we're funding women and girls charities in the Christmas Challenge is slightly different, particularly for those that are under £1 million. And that's the reason for this webinar today. But yeah, as per usual, we have lots of other champion funders who are interested in funding other projects. So yeah, please do feel free to take part. Helen has asked, our charities income of over £1 million. Our voluntary income, and that's because of statutory funding, our voluntary income is far less than £1 million. Would we still be eligible for the pledge from the Big Give? So Helen, unfortunately not. Our £1 million is sort of cut off there. But again, as I sort of answered earlier, that doesn't preclude you from taking part. It would just mean that you would have to find your own pledge funding. But we could still.
Sorry, I was just going to add, if you are in charity with an income of over £1 million, and you secure pledges, if you secure, you can secure more than £12,500 of pledges, up to £25,000 of pledges. So you could access up to £25,000 of DCMS funding.
Yeah, Great, thanks, Sahil. Another anonymous, is there a max amount of champion funding we can apply for? We're currently trying to decide if we should apply for the Christmas challenge or the Women and Girls sort of Run Your Own campaign. I think you've just answered that, haven't you, Sahil?
Yeah. So if you're charity under £1 million, the maximum you can get in total of match funding would be £25,000. If you're a charity over £1 million, the maximum amount of champion funding you can get is £25,000, provided you support the pledges.
Great, thanks, Sahil. If we're successful, this is one for you, Sahil. If we're successful, what is the reporting requirements?
So we ask charities to complete a post-campaign survey. We'll send this out after the campaign ends, and it'll just be about sort of your experiences of taking part in the Christmas challenge, cover a variety of questions, and that's mandatory to complete. So that'll need to be completed by so I think mid-January we aim for, and then once you've completed that, then we can authorize the payout of champion funding or any match funds for you.
Great, thanks. Yeah, and just to add to that, we will also do an end of project evaluation with DCMS with an independent evaluator. So charities will need to input into that as well, but it will be quite light touch. Jody has asked if can you apply if you're working overseas? I think we've answered that, Jody. So unfortunately not at this fund, but do consider the Christmas challenge anyway, because as we've said a few times, we have other funding available. Nicola's asked, just for clarity on the Women and Girls charities, if you've got £1 million turnover, do you want to go back to that slide, Sahil, about the Christmas challenge?
Yeah, sure.
And sorry, Eva has made a good point. Sorry if this is me, that our mics keep cutting out. So let's, sorry about that. We'll try and keep our mics close to our mouth.
Finding where I put the slides. Just bear with me, sorry. Sorry, what was the question again? Alex, can you repeat that?
So it was just clarifying, if you've got an income of £1 million, basically what can you apply for?
Oh, if you've got income of £1 million or more, you can apply for the Christmas challenge. You just need to secure you need to make sure you secure the pledges to be eligible for the champion funding. So you're still eligible to apply for the Christmas challenge and the Women and Girls Match Fund portion of the Christmas challenge. And also you're also eligible to apply for the Run Your Own match funding campaign, to run your own match funding campaign and access up to £10,000 worth of match funds.
Great, thank you. Becky's asked, is the eligibility criteria the same for the general match fund as for the Christmas challenge? The answer is yes on that, Becky. And again, we've provided the link to that page on the website, so you can find the full eligibility criteria there. Anonymous has said, this is amazing. Brilliant, we agree. Is the DCMS tampon tax fund separate from you, or are you running the whole thing? So no, we're not running the whole tampon tax. We bid for some funding for the tampon tax, and we were successful in securing that funding. But so were many other great organizations. So not the whole tampon tax, but we did get some of it. Stephanie has asked, if we're a charity with income under £1 million, do we automatically get the pledge, or do we have to specifically apply or ask for it? Stephanie, you will automatically get that. You don't need to ask for it. So do you want to add to that?
Yeah, just please do visit the Women and Girls Match Fund page, because we'll just need to ask you some additional questions just to make sure we have that information available when our assessors review your applications. Provided you pass those eligibility requirements, our assessors pass your application, then yeah, you get the pledge funds and the champion funds.
Yeah, good steer. Have a look at the page. You'll find all the details there. Tamara's asked, our charities primarily focused on women rather than girls. Will we qualify? Tamara, we've published the eligibility criteria. As we've mentioned a couple of times, it's around being led by, with, and for women and girls, and we've sort of put criteria into there of how we define that. But yeah, if it's girls, that's absolutely fine. But do check out the eligibility criteria. So Jessica has asked, when pledgers pledge, do they donate in September or wait until November to actually donate, or how do we manage this? Can you answer that one, Sahil?
Yeah, so pledges don't actually pay you until after the campaign ends on 6th of December. So you'll just need to go out to them once the campaign has ended and ask them to pay you, and they pay you directly. So they don't pay via the big give, and we'll just ask you to upload a proof of transfer of those funds.
Thanks, Sahil. I appreciate we've hit 12:30. I'm going to say we'll carry on for another sort of 5 or 10 minutes. If you need to dial off, please do. We're going to record all of this anyway, so if you're interested in hearing the rest of the Q&A, do check it out on the YouTube channel, our YouTube channel, which will be up later today, I imagine. But we'll go for another sort of 5 or 10 minutes because we've still got quite a few unanswered questions. Stephanie has asked, is the eligibility criteria the same across all 3 campaigns, i.e. the Women and Girls Fund that's already happened, the Run Your Own campaign, and the Christmas Challenge? That is correct, Stephanie. Yeah, the eligibility is all the same. Again, that can be found on the page that we provided. Chloe has asked, we receive funding through our Women and Girls Match Fund, the International Women's Day one. Are we also eligible to apply for the Christmas Challenge? Yes, you are, Chloe. We'd love to have you back. So yeah, feel free to apply again. Kathy, maybe you can take this one, Sahil. Kathy's asked, how much money do you have to award? What's your total pot for the Christmas Challenge? Or do you want me to take that one, Sahil?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So Kathy, we've got just around £1 million left to award in total. Some of that is earmarked specifically for Scotland, and the rest for England. So we have £1 million roughly in total to disperse. Victoria has asked, is the pledges and champion different to how the Women and Girls Fund worked in March, where we could only get match fund for the donations we raised? Do you want to take that, Sahil, about the model?
Yeah, so for the Women and Girls Match Fund campaign we ran in earlier in the year, all of the match funds that we gave to all of the match funds awarded to charities were provided by the big give. The Christmas Challenge model is slightly different, where charities have to make a contribution to their own campaign, and those are the pledges, and then that's topped up by the champion funding. So it's slightly different. But as mentioned, if you're a charity under £1 million in income, we can provide the pledges for your campaign. So that works in the same way as the campaign early in the year, where basically we're providing all of the match funds for your campaign. But if you're over £1 million and you took part for the campaign early in the year, and you want to apply for the Christmas Challenge, you need to secure the pledges to access the champion funding.
Great, thanks, Sahil. Sahil, another one for you. Chris has asked, does the big give take 4% of all donations?
No, so there's a card processing fee on the online donation. So I think that's 1.3% plus or 1.4% plus 20p on the donations. And if you authorize us to claim gift aid for you, there's a 3% admin fee on the gift aid, on any eligible gift aid. That's all there is in terms of fees on donations. There are no other fees in terms of applying or taking part in our campaigns. We just ask donors to leave an optional tip to the big give when they're making a donation.
Charlotte has asked about 3 questions in one here. So we're a Women and Girls charity, income over £1 million. Can we take part anytime and benefit from the 10K from the big give? Even though we wouldn't benefit from the pledge support Christmas, does this apply if we took part in March 2022? So Charlotte, if I've understood all your questions correctly, so to answer the last part first, yes, if you've taken part already in our Women and Girls Match Fund, you can still apply again. Because you've got an income of over £1 million, we can't support with the pledge element that you can see on the screen in front of you for the Christmas Challenge, but we can support with the champion funding. So you'd have to secure your own pledges. But if you wanted to do your sort of own campaign before Christmas, as we've shared, there is no sort of threshold around the sort of income there, so we can support with the whole match fund for that. So someone has just asked around, Anonymous has asked about the location of the work. Just to clarify, provided the project you're asking for funding for is working in England and Scotland, it's eligible, regardless of if your organisation actually has a broader geographical remit. Yes, Anonymous, your clarification is correct. So even if you work across the whole UK or even internationally, the projects that you are raising funds for have to be either in England or Scotland or both. Another anonymous question here. Will an application to the Women and Girls Match Fund automatically go to the Christmas Challenge, or must we do two separately? Can you talk about the application process, Sahil?
Yeah, so you apply for the Christmas Challenge as it is directed on our website. So complete the normal application form for the Christmas Challenge like all the other charities do. And then we'll just ask you some additional questions that we'll need just about like a bit about your charity work and your sort of SLP makeup, how that's made up. And then our assessors will view the applications and then decide if you're eligible for the Women and Girls Match Fund for the Christmas Challenge. So that's how the application process would work.
Yeah, thanks, Sahil. Victoria's asked, I think, a follow-up question. She wants clarification. Big Give will provide pledges and the match funding. I think you're talking about the Christmas Challenge if you've got an income of under £1 million, Victoria. So yes, we will provide the pledge, as you can see on the screen, and the champion funding. If your income is under £1 million, but you'll still need to sort of obviously do the marketing, the campaign to try and raise these online donations on the right hand side. If you've still got questions on that, feel free to let us know. But yeah, there's still sort of work involved in terms of getting the donations in. I think if there's, we've had quite a few questions now on the £1 million turnover, so I'm going to assume that we've answered that. But if you still have questions on that, please feel free to get in touch with us at hello@thebiggive.org.uk. Just for the purposes of time, I'm going to skip any questions that are to do with that. But if you have still got sort of queries on that, please feel free to follow up. Jessica has asked, what if pledges back down and don't pay? How do we manage this? It's not a scenario we face very often, is it, Sahil?
Yeah, it's not one we face very often, but is something that has happened. And in that situation, the charity is responsible to try and secure replacement pledges, just because donations have been made on the understanding that they're being matched by these pledge funds. So you would, if a pledger backs out, you will need to find a replacement pledger. A good tip I have is that if you secure pledges and you're taking part in the campaign, use those months between sort of September and December just to keep your pledges informed, just to make sort of reminder that they've pledged the campaign and they've made that commitment.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, Jessica, just to reassure you. And the pledger has to fill in a sort of fair, I mean, it's quite light touch, but a form on our website. So there is sort of a paper trail on that as well. Anonymous has asked, Sahil, if we're unsuccessful in securing funding through the Women and Girls strand for the Christmas Challenge, will our applications be made available to other champions to see and support?
Yes, short answer, yes, they will.
That's it. We'll keep it short for time. Could a charity get up to 10k from the Run Your Own campaign and up to 25k at Christmas, or is there a limit if you do both? No limit, Anonymous, you can do both if you want to. Obviously, just be conscious of whether you can do the sort of online donation side and whether you have the support in place to do that. But yes, you can do both. Shannon says, is funding allocated on a first come, first served basis? Do we need to apply sooner rather than later? Shannon, it's not. We do all of our assessments with a fantastic organisation who I'm sure many of you know, called the Rosa Fund, who help us assess the applications for the Women and Girls funding. We would always encourage early applications, but it's not on a first come, first served basis, just to clarify that. Question for you, Sahil. Charlotte has asked, does the Run Your Own campaign have to take part in a certain time frame?
So it'll have to take place before this year's Christmas Challenge, and you'll need to apply for it. What do you say? Before by 28th of October to apply to Run Your Own campaign and access that funding that we can offer.
Great. And I think we're last question, last but not least, Anonymous has asked, we're a new charity in the process of preparing our first annual accounts. When's your deadline for seeing those applications? If we aren't eligible, will you be running this again next year? We'd love to take part. We'd love to have you. We hope to very much run it again next year. Our deadlines for seeing the applications are the 1st of July for the Christmas challenge and the 28th of October for Run Your Own campaign. But Anonymous, whoever that is, if you've got more questions on that, please feel free to follow up with us. Wow, take a breath. That's all the questions in the Q&A. If you've asked questions in the chat and we haven't got to it, please feel free to follow up. Again, the email is hello@thebiggive.org.uk. We're really responsive and we'd love to help. If you need more clarification, we're really happy to support that. So we're looking forward to supporting lots of you through this great fund, and please feel free to be in touch. But otherwise, have a great rest of the day. Thanks, Sahil, and thanks everyone.